Glitch's new pilot has finally been released, and it is, no hyperbole, insane. The Gaslight District was teased as their next big project, and after the success of their breakout hit Murder Drones, and the first half of their internet mega hit The Amazing Digital Circus, how does this one hold up? Howdy, my name is Oopie Goopy, but you could just call me Butter. I've been really excited for this, especially seeing Gooseworks, the creator of The Amazing Digital Circus, hype this one up by saying, the Gaslight District is gonna be something special. And while, I'll be honest, completely upfront here, I was a little nervous going into this one. Some of the early promotional stuff just seemed odd looking to me. And not in a strange, chaotic sense, it just seemed off. I only had a few things to go off of, but to me, it looked like it was gonna have like a plasticky yet organic look. Kinda like Digital Circus, but with a dingy mascot horror vibe to it, and I usually don't like those types of games. But those assumptions were completely shut down, and so I think it's time I actually get into what I thought about the pilot. This video is not gonna be very long or in-depth. I'm just kinda here to talk about what I like, what I think could maybe improve, and what I think we might see in the future. First things first, visuals. It's truly the #1 thing that I took away from it. This shit is just oozing with style. They had a more underground upcoming artist show running this one, Nick Zopko, I believe is how you pronounce that. And I'm so glad they did because his style is so different to anything that Glitch has done in the past. I can say fairly confidently that this is the best looking show in the studio's filmography. Looking at the stills that I saw of it before the release, I thought it would be really cool if it was done in claymation. A pipe dream type of cool, because I think the day that Glitch puts out a stop motion animated show, I would die happy. Or of old age. But the fact that they were still seemingly influenced by Tim Burton and Laika is still really sick. And not as much Coraline Laika, which is what I'm used to implying. More so Paranorman and the Box Trolls Laika, which is kinda crazy. Dude, I don't know how this cel-shaded 3D animation looks so good after all these years. It's gritty as hell. The Gaslight District itself feels disgusting, like there's a layer of grime over all of it, which provides this great contrast to the moody, intricate architecture of the Angel's Citadel. This show, and this is gonna sound really dumb, is an animated show. A lot of this pilot just looks so much better in motion. And that's special because usually I'm more likely to pause and appreciate specific stills when I watch stuff. This is one of those better scenarios where I found myself rewinding and watching through full scenes just to see certain movements and effects play out. The Angel Storm was great, the intro car chase scene was awesome, and I love the movements of the Crow Mother. Weirdly enough, it's got similar visual vibes to two different TMNT projects, both the 2023 movie and the 2012 show. But if it was, filled with body horror and biblical imagery. Oh shit, wait, hold up. And let me talk about the design work as well. I needed a minute to get used to how the main characters look. They feel a lot different than the crowd people, the regular rotlings who act as the extras in the show, but man, are they great. I love Breadhead, not because he's got a head made of bread, but actually because of how his mouth moves. Very specific, I know, but it's the detail work like that that really makes me appreciate and adore the visual work of this show. The whole crime family is so charming. They're disgusting, but they're also cartoonishly cute. I think a great example of this has to be Ken. He's got a pretty peak dad design, big burly overalls and a gruffer accent. His big eyes actually work really well in two different ways. His rage gets accentuated when they bulge out of his head, but they can also look sweeter when he's trying to talk nicely about his kids, even if it usually is facetious or snarky. Mud is the most normal looking, even though it looks like his skin is just kind of melting off. But I kind of like that because he's also the most detached member of the family, being the uncle. And then there's Melancholy. Mel, in all of the promotional material, looks a lot creepier and more malicious than she actually is. Her face is very expressive, and it's cool that her body is covered in wrappings as a way to keep any potential wounds hidden. Beyond the family, the angels are great. I love a good bird design. And the virtues are probably hands down my favorite part of this entire pilot. They've got this cool, not quite human look to them that I really like from angelic characters. Think Shin Megami Tensei, or at its most extreme, Evangelion. Now I know that these characters aren't the angels, but I like my holy figures to be more than just dudes in robes, okay? The last bit about the visuals here is probably my MVP aspect, and that's the graphic design. There's a bunch of text and title cards that appear throughout the pilot, and they just look fantastic. It's such a striking visual that cuts through the animation that a lot of people can probably just brush off, but to me, I really love it. It helps sell the setting just that little bit more. Moving on from the visuals, that will probably be the longest section, I want to dig into the story a little bit. I did have to watch through this one twice just to pick up all the context that I needed. During my first watch through, I was kind of sitting there just thinking, did I miss something? But on second rewatch, I think the only two key points that I'm still missing is the actual prophecy and Ken and Temperance's history. I'll get to that one later, but the prophecy is still not something I'm 100% sure on. It's a defining aspect to the characters and the setting, and yet it wasn't really specified in the short. Like, nobody really says what the prophecy actually says, they just say that the human is gonna be the end of them. Although, to be fair, it is a pilot episode, so they might just be leaving it open for flexibility or maybe a future reveal down the line. Not that big of a deal, really. This story feels so fresh for Glitch. A crime family with a world-ending dark secret has to keep it hidden from the rest of the city. That is great. I'm super excited to dig into these family dynamics and see how they grow and morph over the course of the series. Ken being our deuteragonist, the secondary character, is such a fresh role for a fatherly figure to take. Usually they're pushed to the side more, but in this he's got a lot of emotional focus, which is great. The key locations are fantastic. I talked about the Angel Zone with the ornate carvings and mysterious lighting, but the Gaslight District itself is made up of a bunch of ruined, scrappy buildings, junk cars, and repurposed shipping containers that make the aesthetic so open to experimentation. I want to see what normal human ideas and locations have been altered to fit into this grim society. And the mysterious black eye at the center of it all, constantly watching just like the angels, it makes me so curious about this world's history. God, that little narration at the beginning can only go so far. And this one has to be the biggest cliffhanger so far from Glitch. So I'm really excited to, jump back in and see what's queued up next. Audio is the last big category, and this is where I have some thoughts. The music is great. I've spent some time listening to the OST after watching it, and man, it's just some really good stuff. Actually hearing the clicking of the strings gives it a really rusty, dystopian sound, and it's amazing. You can really hear a lot of texture from the instruments themselves, impacts on the percussion, chilling sounds resonating throughout the piano, and like I said, strings clicking against the base of their respective bodies. It just really fits that grungy, gritty setting. And the choral vocals, dude, ugh. If I'm playing a video game and I walk into a boss room and all of a sudden I hear a choir start to cast their song at me, I'm dying to the boss, man. That bitch, it's throwing me off guard, okay? And it's no different here. That last fight between Ken and Diligence was sick as hell. Now, the sound for once is something I actually have comments on. Usually I get to this section in a review and I just kind of go, yeah, it's good, I think. I don't know. Because most of the time I don't actually have anything to identify. Usually it checks out and I can just square it away as being good. Here though, I do think the sound could be pushed just a little bit further. I'm not saying it's bad by any means. The audio quality is up to code, but it's in the intensity that I think it could be played around with a little bit more. I'll give two examples of what I mean, but the first one is coincidentally also in that Ken and Diligence fight. There's some good swishes and slices on the cuts, but the last two big impacts don't really have as much oomph as I was ready for. It's a very quiet shove into that grindy sound from the Angel Storm. I just feel like there was room for a more percussive impact there, you know? The other example is also at the tail end of the pilot, is another nitpick. It's very specific, I know, but I felt like I should just bring it up because I noticed it while watching, and that's with this spine that shoots up out of the ground at the end. The ritual noises are really loud and clear, and then the focus moves over to this electrical current, which is pretty dang quiet, which makes sense realistically. But then the spine comes out and it's at a decent volume. My comment on it is more on the audio positioning. On both my over-ears and my earbuds, the sound of it sounded like it was coming from behind me, even though it was something right in front of you on screen. And that kind of muddied it out. It made it sound a little foggy. It's the focal point of the shot, and so I feel like the audio should have been more brunt and clear, kind of in the way that the dialogue is right after. It's basically a non-issue, but if I have any critique of this show, it's probably in that zone. I'll give you a couple of predictions and hopes before I go. I'm guessing that this thing that appears at the end of the episode will have a much more direct impact on the plot, so I'm really excited to see how they use it. I really want a Ken episode. He's the most interesting character that they've set up so far. With this whole brain situation, the fact that he's the only character who isn't trying to kill or capture the human because she's his daughter. I feel like we have to see his whole story with Temperance happen on screen. Especially with that creature that's above him. What the hell is that? I want to see more Virtues. They just look sick. And if their personalities line up with their respective titles, I am so down. I'm excited to see Jack potentially return. I think that's what they were hinting at with the outro monologue there. Also, seriously, what the hell is Breadhead? Like, what do they do to him? Why? Regardless, go check it out if you haven't. I thought it was pretty damn neat. Glitch is still continuing TADC, and they have another show in the works as we speak, which is from the creator of The Owl House. I did not know that was who was showrunning it at first. What the hell? So yeah, go be excited for Knights of Guinevere as well. That's Glitch's first 2D animated project, which is sick as hell. I am just so happy that Glitch is still putting out quality stuff here on YouTube. Seeing these creators get a chance to make their own fully realized show is amazing. Like, it is genuinely so special to see shit like this. I swear I say this at the end of every single video I make about this studio, but keep it up.